Masters of Grace Healing. I am here today to do a real talk about love. I did pull some cards just to kind of get a better idea of where they wanted to go with this. Because as we all know, there are a lot of different aspects to how to navigate relationships, how to heal from past experiences in order to set up a more solid foundation to give and receive love in a more healthy fashion. And that's really what I want to encourage on this channel. So, um, what we're going to be talking about isn't all there is to it. So, just take what resonates and, whatever best suits you, or if there is one thing that you can take from this in order to take a little more accountability for yourself and the way that we act out in our relationships, then that is the sole intention for this video. I saw someone join in. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Joyce. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is see, they're already pulling me in a million different directions. Stay on track. Stay on track, Jess. So we've been talking about giving and receiving love a lot lately, and I think a lot of us don't realize how much we truly self-sabotage, or how hard it is to acknowledge what it is that not only we need, but what we desire from our partner. And I've noticed that, especially now, whether you're in a relationship or single, it's really important to pay attention to resentment. Resentment is a big theme that I'm seeing in a lot of different aspects that are affecting our personal relationships. Now, of course, love doesn't have to just go towards a romantic partner. This can be your friends and your family. And, once you start paying attention to how the themes are portraying themselves within all of our relationships, then you will see more clearly how your romantic relationships are being affected as well. So, and Savannah, and that's something, thank you for saying that, because we're gonna try to fit that in there as well, because that's another really, really important lesson for all of us. And I think it also goes in tune with how we as a society, especially in the spiritual community, can tend to rely on tarot readers, psychics, mediums, things outside of ourselves in order to give us confirmation of what we already know. Sometimes we do need an outside perspective, especially if we feel we are not seeing things clearly. It is not a sign of weakness to ask for help, to ask for guidance, especially if we don't know the proper tools to get through a difficult situation and it's something that we want to mend, right? But it's really, really important that no matter what information or education that we are gaining from outside sources, that we are truly listening and putting it into play and staying fluid with the way that we evolve with our tools. What once worked for us a few years ago, let alone 10 years ago, may not work with where you are right now, and that's okay. It's important to allow yourself to adapt whatever way you need to in order to feel more in alignment with love. Okay? So, Giving and receiving, guys. I know a lot of us, hey Brooke, you are not too late, so, we've only been on a few minutes, but hopefully, you're right on time, which I feel you always are. So, giving and receiving. Now, there's a lot of, this is where I feel self-sabotage comes in, okay? It hit me right before I got on. One of the biggest ways that we self-sabotage is the way that we tend to, and this is like a coping mechanism, this is a defense mechanism, where when we get in our heads or in our feels, especially when things aren't so bright and cheerful and we're not in the honeymoon phase, when things tend to be more real life and normal day stresses, and we're not feeling as connected to our partner, we'll start looking for things that feel out of alignment because we're feeling disconnected in a sense, right? So we'll start trying to figure it out. And this is when we go into fixer mode. We're trying to find an answer from the outside source of why we are feeling uncomfortable with not only ourselves, but our relationship. And this goes back even to what we were just talking about a minute ago about trusting in yourself. When our attention tends to be so focused on our partner, especially when things feel a little hectic or a little chaotic or, just kind of there, right? We tend to go through the honeymoon phase where everything is super bright and airy and free flowing, and then we get into our routine of life. Guys, not every single day is going to be a honeymoon energy, okay? But one thing we tend to do when we start looking at the reasons we're feeling disconnected, we tend to start to point fingers. We tend to start to judge. We tend to start to create more separation of why our partner isn't showing up for us. Tends to create more and more separation, okay? One thing that I have also learned recently is coming to the awareness of how that resentment, when we start looking at the things that, we're not getting from our partner, how our partner isn't making us feel lately, or, that we're on two different wavelengths, whatever the case may be, they're not showing us enough attention, then we start to pull back, right? We tend to start reserving our own love because we feel we are not getting it from our partner. So then we start delegating how much we even give them. We even start getting petty about it, like certain little things that we know will help our partner or be a positive influence for our partner, but we deny them that because we feel, why should I give when you're not giving to me? And that is selfish, right? Then we start playing old storylines and narratives of, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this person doesn't really love me the way that I think or thought they did, right? Or do I love this person the way that I thought I did? And one thing that I think is so important to take from all of this, if there is something that you feel disconnected from in your relationship and you want to see more of something, you should give more of it. And not in the sense of, I'm going to give this to my person and they're going to give it to me in return, because that is conditional. When we talk about turning our heart light on, it's because we know that in the frequency of love, which is the greatest healer, that no matter what our partner is going through. We are centered in ourself enough to be that beacon, to be that source of love, and influence the energy around us. Now, not to say that if we put that out there, that our partner is responsible or obligated to accept that energy. Okay? But we don't want to do it in a sense of control. It's in the sense of it's all good. Right? I'm really going to try to get through this without choking. It's not in a sense to manipulate, but it's in a sense of doing it because that is the right thing to do for yourself and others. And that also comes with really looking at how you give and receive, and not everyone gives and receives the same way. I knew this was coming, guys. Every time. Never fails. Never fails. I swear one day I will be over all of this. So, this is a very important time that if you are noticing resistance or a sense of disconnect in your relationships, first off, what would you like to see more, right? If you're looking at more affection, more compassion, more words of affirmation, more quality time, it's important that we be that example. Be the example has been a constant theme lately. And it's really important that first and foremost, that you start with yourself. You need to be taking care of yourself. You need to be helping your energy and your vibration elevate so that you are not in the state. Because, like, if you look at it, and I've seen it go around where, it's basically the ascension and descension, vibrational frequency and what it brings, right? Joy is at the top of the list. It's freedom, it's happiness, it's perfect contentment that you know where you're at and there's nothing stopping you. The lower that you get, anger, resentment, fear, doubt, judgment, all of that starts to lower your frequency. And I think we're all guilty of it, right? And this is something that we shouldn't berate ourselves for. But to understand that it is an unhealthy pattern that we tend to get trapped into, and this would be a really good time to even reflect on some really happy memories with your partner. Why do you love your partner the way that you do, right? Where do you see your partner struggling, right? Maybe there's something that you can do just to help take some of the pressure off of them, to make sure they know they're loved, that they are wanted, because that's what we all want, right? And have enough discernment because when it comes to doing what is for the highest good of all, right? I've seen it from an outsider's perspective, and I've seen it from a personal perspective. Sometimes we get into relationships from a wounding mindset or a wounded mindset. And at the time, that person is a vibrational match. Okay, That person is reflecting back to you something that you feel is missing within yourself, right? And it's something that you feel like you need. Now, just like your tools and the things that you have learned in order to cope and navigate life, same as your relationships, right? Sometimes we evolve from that energetic frequency. So it's not to say that, that they're terrible people, or because not everyone that we date or that we love are narcissistic assholes who are just out to get us. Like, that's not the case, right? Now, it's not to say that those people aren't out there, but there are a lot of people who are acting, including us, out of a emotional wounded inner child syndrome. That's what I'm going to call it, okay? So it's really important that we learn to give and receive freely. And I notice that a lot of people have a hard time doing this because due to our own trauma and experiences, if our partner does not tend to show up for us, we tend to go into this mode of, well, I'll do it myself. I don't need you, right? And if someone hurts us or our relationship fails, we tend to go into ridicule, judgment, even more separation to prove that we were right. It's not worth it, guys. It's not worth it. But doing what is for the highest good of all, if there is someone in our life that is struggling, it's not our job to enable them. And it's really important that you hold yourself accountable for that. Sometimes we have to let our dearest loved ones fall flat on their face, and vice versa. Sometimes we have to let them go through the experience themselves so they can truly learn. We're so quick to want to fix or to cushion or, to make things better. All you have to do is be you. Our codependency, well, if you're showing up as this, then I'm showing up as this. My emotions are based off of your emotions and your reactions. That is codependency. And if we have insecurity attached to that, it can be a very deadly thing. It will make you question and doubt even the most strong-willed relationships. So it's really important right now to reflect on times where your heart felt full, where you feel like you were most connected to yourself, to your higher power, to your loved ones, and to bring in the source of that love so that you can see with a fresher perspective. A lot of this does have to do with relationships that you feel are going somewhere. And that's one reason, and I'm telling y'all, this is all over the place, but just bear with me, take what you need from it. There's been so much about, I see it a lot in the tarot community where so many people want love, but the moment that love comes into their life, they go to a tarot reader or a psychic to confirm the outcome of this relationship to see if it's even worth it. Guys, this is like reading a book starting from the end and then trying to go back and experience it the same. It doesn't work like that. And I honestly feel like it's very irresponsible to give people a false sense of hope, because there are so many avenues and things that are going to be attached to the whole story that will affect that possible end outcome. Okay? So you got to be figuring out what it is from your past that is affecting your present that will ultimately affect your future. But we shouldn't be jumping to the end of the story to make sure it's even worth it. You need to be trusting yourself in the discernment of what is being presented to you to see if you're actually right for each other. We tend to get wrapped up in the connections that we feel, especially when it's something we've been looking for or hoping for, whatever the case may be. Something comes in, sparks us, and then we gain an emotional attachment. Now, depending on what your attachment style is, whether it is avoidant or is it anxious, is it, are you feeling secure, right? Like, there's a lot of different aspects of attachment styles that will eventually, have a cause and effect in the unfolding of your story. So if you don't know what your triggers are, like, really look at your parents' relationship per se, right? The relationships in your life that showed you or taught you what love looks like, right? For a lot of us, we can say that that wasn't so pretty. And there's other people who know people who have been together 40 years, but don't really even like each other most of the time. Listen, this isn't just about a marital status. This isn't just about a relationship status. This is about choosing your life partner. And we should be choosing wisely. Not just because it's someone to fill the bed space beside you or someone to eat dinner with at night. Someone that actually brings depth to your life, right? And someone who is also willing to work with you when shit gets rough. Because listen, if you can't make it through the small stuff, the petty stuff, what's going to happen when life hits you hard? You need to be able to count on your partner and your partner count on you. And it's our responsibility for what we show up with on a daily basis. And that's going to fluctuate. And that's okay, because you don't have 100% perfect days. No one does. So it's really irresponsible for us to expect that from our partners. And also, if we see our partner struggling, what is it that you need from me in order for you to not feel like you are being overburdened with stress? Is there anything I can do? If that's just showing up with a good attitude and, making things light and airy, or holding space and not trying to fix the situation, but actually listen to your partner, right? Or, maybe it's getting outside of ourselves. Let's go do something nice for someone else, right? Or whatever the case may be, like, you should know your partner, right? And if you open communication is so important in these times, because we tend to suppress our thoughts and our words in order to keep the peace, but in reality it makes things much worse, because it only further disconnects you. And you know what I'm saying? But I honestly feel that it will show you what your partner is willing to do for you if you show your partner what you are willing to do for them. And then you can make a solid choice of whether you're actually good for each other or not. And that takes time. That takes presence. But you can't rely on your partner's attitude to be the source of your happiness, or vice versa. You should be happy in your day-to-day basis regardless. If you have a low day, okay, that's fine, right? No one's saying that you can't be angry, or you can't be upset, or that you can't have a day where you're just feeling off. That is a part of our normal human experience, and you should not be denying yourself that, because that is asking yourself to be of perfection. There's no such thing. And I think we need to start embracing the fact that we're all here just trying to make the most of it, right? So if you want to make the most of it, it's really important for you to have more quality time, right? Quit putting all this outside stuff, whether that is your job, your friends, your, you know, it can be anything, guys. If there are things that are taking precedence and taking up so much space that you can't even enjoy, you know, 10, 15 minutes of pure presence with your partner, then what are you doing, right? Because we all have the time. It's just about making the time. It's about putting, you know, things away. Like I had to learn, in order to have that quality time at the end of the day when I was working 2 jobs and taking care of kids and all these things, in order to have that presence with my partner at the end of the day. Okay, maybe clothes didn't get done till the next day, or maybe the dishes had to sit, and that was a major thing for me. I don't like letting dishes sit in the sink, you know? But maybe that day I needed some extra quality time with my partner, so let it slide. It can wait a few hours. It can wait till tomorrow. There are things that we feel like we must do that actually take away from the quality time. Not sitting on our phone, not watching TV, maybe stare in your partner's eyes, maybe tell your partner how much you're grateful for their presence in your life, maybe come up with something that you would like to do more with your partner that can bring more connection between the two of you, something that you both enjoy. Right? Maybe try to take up a new hobby. Maybe write a letter to your partner. Something. It can be so small, just to let your partner know, I I'm here for you, right? And not to have any expectation of what you're going to get in return, but just simply because you want to. You feel the need to, because you want your partner to feel loved. That's really what it boils down to. And if there's something that you feel you want more of, if you want open, honest communication, you want to know where your partner stands, you want to know what's bothering your partner that day, maybe you should try that a little more in your relationship too. And me and Brooke were talking about this the other day, where, you know, how we tend to, like, kind of watch what we say, or try to, you know, soften how we express ourselves in certain things. And yes, I do feel like the way that we present is going to either encourage a more open conversation, or it is going to encourage a more defensive conversation, right? I feel like delivery has a lot to do with it, but that's where our confidence comes in. And, you know, like she said, sometimes you got to get, depending on where that person is meeting you, sometimes it does get into a heated discussion, but that's where the raw realness comes out, because it's usually stuff that has been repressed, right? So you it's just about learning to trust yourself and knowing that what you're feeling and what you're experiencing is something that is worth fighting for, right? So I think it's really important to take inventory of our relationships right now. How am I showing up? What ways could I be more present with my partner? What are some things that we could do together that are going to uh, solidify our relationship more? What questions do I want to ask my partner, but I haven't yet, right? And I think so many of us are scared to ask certain questions because we're scared of the response. But yet, then you wonder if you're wasting your time. I bet you if you asked that question, you would know, right? And maybe it's not the answer you want to hear, but it will be the answer you need to hear. And maybe it's the confirmation that you had been hoping for, but were just too scared because your fear has been dictating how you show up in the relationship, right? So the marriage card was, there was something in here that I wanted to talk about. Look at your present and past relationships, okay? And review your feelings. If you, okay, for instance, and sometimes you really don't know how you're going to respond to something until it comes up, right? And there's been a lot coming up for me about my past relationships lately where, like, okay, my first love, for instance, there was a lot of love there, but we were very toxic for each other. I'll just say that. And as Kevin and I are going through our daily readings and everything, there were certain things that came up that I remember my first love saying to me, and it hurt, and it hurt, and it was like, okay, I'm not angry. I've been over the anger for a long, long time. And I really felt like I had forgiven him for certain things, but once I remembered what was done and said to me from this man that I thought was the love of my life, that I thought was my protector and everything, that this man could say something like that to me, you know, and I realized that there was still so much more forgiveness. So even though I'm out of the anger, there were parts that had not quite come to the realization that there was still a pain attached to what was said and done. But then, like my most recent marriage, he was the only man I ever actually married, but um, you know, it's been 3 years, and he's actually one that helped all of this, right? So much gratitude for him. And I learned a lot by leaving that relationship. And at the time, I thought I was doing what was needed for me. All that decision was purely for me. But at the time, did not realize it was actually for we. It was for us, right? Because he didn't understand at the time why the decision I was making to leave was, it was absolutely asinine, right? But now hearing that he's engaged, which 2 years ago, I would have been, I was livid when I found out that he had already had someone moved in within 6 months of me leaving. 3 months within the last time that he had tried to still be intimate with me as we were signing the separation papers. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was some weird shit going on there. But when I heard that he was engaged, there really wasn't much of a reaction. It was like, oh, well, hadn't heard that one yet. Like, okay, good for him. If I know the pattern, I know what he does, so it's not a surprise to me. But there is no anger, there is no animosity, and I mean, honestly, when that news came out, like I wasn't sure how I was going to react to that, but it was comforting to know, okay, like, yeah, good, right? Whatevs. So it's important to pay attention to the emotional reactions. If you can talk about your ex without going into a whole, emotional conversation, or and there might be several layers to it, you know, same thing as my first love. Been doing years and years of healing on that relationship, but yet that statement that I hear, right? That feeling that I felt, it brought it all back to the surface of, ooh, damn, that hurts. That hurt. It was an emotional reaction. It hit me right in my heart space. So sometimes you don't really realize what you're holding on to until it comes out. And it's really important that you honor that emotion instead of saying, oh no, I'm over this, or oh, fuck that. Because that's the same thing I was talking about, and fighting the lower vibrational frequencies or entities. If we are going in with a fuck you attitude, we're still scared. We're scared. And that's okay. But it is important for you to take accountability for what you are feeling and what you are putting out into this world, because like attracts like. Whatever frequency you are putting out is going to manifest in some form around you. And even if it is a subconscious belief, if it's something that you don't normally put out there, like, really think about it. Because, okay, simple things that I have said over the years, which I know a majority of people have been guilty of, are all guys and girls are the same. Right? Maybe I'm meant to be alone. All these people are, selfish, or, the dating scene sucks, or whatever the case may be. I've said all that shit in my past, right? I don't need no man. I got this by myself. Well, yeah, I mean, I do. I'm okay being alone. I wasn't back then when I was saying that. It was a defense mechanism. Like, oh, fuck y'all. Y'all don't want me? Well, I don't need you either. That's fear. That's fear of not being accepted and being alone. It all stems from fear. But when you are confident and calm within your own energy, everything else flows like water. And that is our ultimate goal. Right? To be in alignment, so trusting, and have so much faith, as within, so without, that things move naturally in life, and we trust where it leads. There's not an emotional attachment to say, if you don't stay with me the rest of your life, then you are unworthy of being in it now. That's unfair. And you will be dissatisfied over and over again, holding those kind of expectations for something that hasn't even happened yet. We're restricting the unfolding of what could be and possibly shall be. So, hi Leanne. Hi Camila. Hello. But yeah, so I'm not really doing tarot readings anymore. I'm doing more intuitive readings, but more of coaching now. So, but yeah, guys. So is there anything else that we wanted to talk about? Um, and asking for help, right? So even though I want to promote y'all relying on yourself and trusting your own instincts, like I said before, if you do not have the proper tools, resources, or support, you should find it. And sometimes that, does ask you to reach out to someone that you trust, right? If you're in this and it's too close to the situation, it's okay to, read a book or reach out to a friend, but be careful of dumping. There's a lot of people that, want to call on someone every time something happens or every time they're feeling insecure or uncertain. And that can lead to enabling. And no matter what, you're going to get your feelings hurt, or someone is. Because I've been on both sides, guys. On one hand, hey Christina, on one hand, you know, yes, your friends want to be there and support you and love you, but if you are calling and complaining about the same thing over and over again and you are doing nothing to lead to a resolution or at least a different form of that conversation, you're spinning in circles and you're dragging your friend's vibration down with you. It's unfair. It's unfair. So then it comes to the point that your friend, if they have healthy boundaries, are going to have to set boundaries with you to help you understand that as much as they want to be there to support you, this might be a chapter of your story that you have to go on without them. Doesn't mean that they love you any less or that you have necessarily done anything wrong. They are giving you the chance to experience your life for yourself, and that is a beautiful thing. Okay? And that's why when these things happen, say it happens to you where your friend is telling you, I can't support you in this demeanor anymore, and I think we need to take a little break until you figure things out. That might hurt you because you're in a low vibration. Hey, David. But in all honesty, that is the biggest form of selfless love, to say, as much as I love you and I want to be here for you, you need to learn to be here for yourself first. Because we believe in you, right? We know that you have the ability to overcome the mental mind fuck that you're putting yourself through, or the fact that there is a decision that needs to be made, but you're too damn scared to make it, so you want us to be the dumping ground so that you can let off all the steam that you've been building up. That's not fair. You have to take control over your life. You have to take accountability for your life. And that's the same thing in love. Take accountability for your love and make sure that before you go pointing the finger or, dogging on your partner because they're not showing up for you the way that you want them to, and very, very important to pay attention to love language. Just because you want, so say, physical touch is very, very important for you, but your partner's love language is words of affirmation and quality time, right? You can still mingle the two, but one partner is probably going to have more harder time with personal touch, physical touch, and, sensitivity, right? Where they might tend to be more easily giving of words of affirmation and quality time where you may struggle with that. So just because your love language is physical touch does not mean that's how your partner receives. Okay? So just because you want to receive physical touch does not mean that that is the most important thing for your partner. It is so important to pay attention to how your partner and yourself give and receive, and make sure that you are doing your part and giving your partner what they really need, and letting your partner know what it is that you really need, and taking action on it. There's so many times that we will get caught up and know that there is something that we need to do or want to do, but then we let ourselves get distracted, or forget about it, it will happen later, whatever. If you want to see change in your relationship, you need to be taking action on it. Do things that bring you closer together. Try new things. Get outside of your box. Understand that one person or the other should not be conforming to the other person's life, but forging your own path together. Okay? And pay attention to what a solid relationship or a solid commitment looks like to you. And if that's really what you want, don't accept less. It's okay. It's okay to say, we're not right for each other, or we're not a great fit, or, this isn't a natural unfolding of something that I know I want in life. You are sabotaging yourself and the other person if you do that just to fill space. So that's where it's at. We're at almost 50 minutes. So hopefully there's something in here that can help you. And these are just my personal views and things that I've seen throughout life, and things that have helped me. But listen, if you're seeing a pattern over and over and over again, but you're afraid to make any choices, you're afraid to make some changes, you're afraid to show up and be honest and open with your partner, these are some of the main factors that are going to sabotage any relationship you find yourself in. So, that's some of it, not all of it. Maybe Brooke will want to get in on one of these conversations. But take inventory, guys. Think of your past and your present relationships. Pay attention to how you feel. Ask yourself, what is it, especially if it's a present relationship, what does my relationship need from me right now? What do I need for myself right now if I'm feeling disconnected? If your past relationships are still affecting you in the manner that you're still having emotional reactions that are playing out in your current relationships, then it is important that you find someone who can help you process everything, help you get to the root of the issue, help heal those energetic cords, right? But don't rely on anyone to do the work for you. Doesn't work like that. So, if you need help, you can email me at whispersofgrace1016@gmail.com. But otherwise, it's just a matter of going through the emotional process and forgiving and making the conscious choice to know that this behavior or this pattern is not right for you anymore, and it's up to you to break it and start making better choices that are more aligned with what it is that you want to attract. But that starts with you. Like, maybe you even want to ask yourself, how do I feel about myself right now? Is there anything that I'm out of alignment with? Is there anything that I'm disconnected from that brings me joy? Right? Start asking the right questions, guys. And if you need anything, I'm here for you. But we're going to leave it at that. If you have any questions or any ideas of topics that you would like to discuss, please drop a comment. Let me know how all this resonates with you, and I wish you all the best of luck. Until next time.